Welcome to Mobile Sauna Stories, Australia edition. My name is Galina. I'm the creator of Sauna Cult, a mobile wood-fired sauna experience based here in Brisbane. And in these interviews, we're going to talk to mobile sauna owners across the country to find out what challenges they're facing, how is it like to run mobile sauna in Australia, and where did they get the sauna from, or even how to find their first location. That's a tricky one. So stay tuned. Let us know what you think, what are the questions we should ask, and enjoy. Today, we're talking to Kate from Salty Finn Saunas, based in South Australia. With your Finnish heritage, Kate's gonna tell us a bit more about Finnish sauna culture and about the efforts it takes to run a mobile wood-fired sauna and how to balance it with full-time job, family, and a small kid. Okay, now we started.
Awesome.
Hi, Kate. Thank you so
Hi.
much. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Can you please tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yes,
And then we will start to talk about your sauna and your business.
no worries. Well, so I'm based in South Australia in the Adelaide Hills, and I have Finnish heritage. So my mum is Finnish, and I've spent a fair bit of time in Finland myself. And I've grown up with, a Finnish side of the family where sauna and that, doing sauna with your family has been very normal. And it didn't occur to me that that was a little bit abnormal in Australia until I got into maybe my late teens, and I realized that, having a sauna with your grandparents seems a little bit weird to Aussies. But yeah, I have a young daughter and I am married, and I work full time. I've gone back from mat leave. I've been back at work about 6 months now. So I also have another job, which I've got a job as a mum, a job that's full time, and then I've also started this little business on the side.
What made you think about starting a mobile sauna? And sauna, I understand because if you want to share this tradition, but mobile one, what did you decide to do?
Well, when the last time I was in Finland was 2019, I went there because I felt like before I had a baby, there was something in me that I needed to do, and that was to go spend a summer in Finland. So my husband said, you go do what you need to do. And I spent 3 months in Finland, and I had no plans other than, I stayed with my cousin. I rode my bike around. We, just went shopping. I just lived like a Finn for a summer. I rented an Airbnb in Helsinki, and one of the other things we did was we went to the summer cottage at Heinola, and it's a little cottage on an island on a lake that you can only get to by rowboat. And essentially what we did for 5 days was sauna, swim, sleep, eat, repeat. And it was amazing. It was really at that point in my life. And the reason that I went to Finland was to try and, recuperate and to find myself and to sort of do a little bit of healing. And it really played a huge role in me coming back to Australia home as a happier, healthier person in mind, body, and soul. So when I got back, I thought there must be a way that I can bring that feeling back to Australia. And so that was 2019, and we in amongst that we started to explore building a sauna in our backyard because like I said, my grandparents always had a sauna. They converted sheds and bathrooms and all types of areas in each of their houses to be a sauna. And I said to my partner, I want to build one in the backyard. So that's where we were heading at the time. And then I went to Tasmania in 2021, I think it was. And when we were there, we went to the floating sauna. I'm not sure if you've seen it in Derby. And it was incredible. It was the most amazing experience. And in the Australian environment, but I went to this sauna. I was in there. It was completely booked out, but I found myself a seat and I was in there with two South American girls, a couple from Michigan and me. And for the 50 minutes we were there, we exchanged life stories. We, spoke about what we knew about sauna in Finland and where we had come from. And of course, we jumped into the cold water that's right there with the floating sauna. And I just was like, that was an amazing experience. And I wanted to try and bring that to South Australia. So originally I was thinking, okay, I need to find a property or I need to find something where I can build a sauna, build something on a body of water. But I was finding it very hard to find that, the right context for what I wanted to achieve. And then I remember it was the middle of COVID and I was sitting at my desk at work and, everything stopped during COVID, all resources and everything just focused on the pandemic. And what I was working on at the time really wasn't going anywhere. And I was thinking, there's got to be more to life than this. And I was scrolling on my phone, as you do, and I came across this girl in the UK who had a mobile sauna at the beach. And I just had oh my God, I have to do that. So, of course, I had to convince my husband to let me go down the path, spend some money, get the trailer built. And after a little bit of convincing, because in the beginning he was like, where has this come from? I really sold the idea to him and there was nothing like it in South Australia at the time. So, but as I started to do research, I found other examples interstate. And yeah, I really wanted to be the first in SA doing it. So we went down the path of doing a mobile sauna, and my vision was that it would be at the beach because, in South Australia, it's a bit different in Brisbane, but in South Australia, our winters are actually really cold and the water is cold and the beach is unused. And I just thought, what a perfect way to bring people to the beach in the wintertime to have this amazing experience where they're, the traditional Finnish sauna combined with the Australian beach culture and context, combine them together, and what a beautiful marriage. So yeah, and I really have been able to achieve that. But yeah, it's everyone that's come through. I have really had no bad feedback. Everyone has really loved the combination of the ocean and the sauna.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How many years do you have it already for?
I've only had it for about 18 months. No, maybe a little bit longer. So we picked it up at the end of 2022. No, 2023. Oh, I'm getting lost with my years. Yeah, 2023. So I've had it for 18 months. So what I really struggled with was finding someone to build it. We got the trailer built here in the Adelaide Hills, which was easy, but finding a builder that had the time and capacity to, build a sauna, like a small project in amongst all of the other stuff that they're doing, it was very difficult. So I engaged a few builders, and then in the end, we just worked out that they weren't comfortable because number one, they'd never built anything on a trailer, and number two, they had never built a sauna. So I ended up finding a guy in Melbourne, Mark from Drip Sauna, and obviously it was on a trailer. So we drove over, dropped it off, and then when he finished, we drove over and picked it up.
How long did it take him to build?
It wasn't that long, really. So once we nailed the design and, the functionality of what I wanted to achieve, once he started, I'm going to say it took maybe 3 months to build. But recognizing that he only does saunas. So he knew how to do it. He knew the materials. Everything about the sauna, he was able to provide that expertise on how to do it. Versus the general builders that I was engaging were having to research materials, the composition of the insulation and the wall and the ventilation, there was a lot of things that they were having to find out themselves. Whereas Mark, this is his field of expertise. So, once we had the design and I said, this is what the look and feel that I want, and this is the functionality that I want, he said, yep, that's all good. And once he started building it, it was, about 3 months to build.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to talk to Mark as well because I talked to Hot Saunas,
Yes.
the first episode, and they also built all the saunas with Mark.
I know.
So
Yeah. I think I was the first one that Mark built because when I spoke to him, I said, listen, I've got this idea. And he said, oh yeah, he kind of said to me, you're not the first. I've been contacted by a few people, but no one's ever gone through with it. And I said, okay, well, I'm going through with it. So, yeah, he built mine. And then maybe a year later, I saw Hot House pop up. And a lot of the materiality and things like that they had used was similar to mine, which I love. I think that's great. And I was actually joking around with them thinking I should have been the second one that he built, not the first one, because he probably learned a few things along the way and was able to apply them to the next builds. But yeah, their fleet of saunas looks amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't seen them in real life, but on the photos, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it looks good. So right now, your sauna is not working. Like summer, you closed.
Yeah. So in my vision of how the business would work would be that through sort of April to November, I would have locations sorted for the year for the sauna season. And then I'd have a break over summer just because, being wood fire, I think there are some sensitivities around having a fire going when it's really hot weather-wise. And even though I was going to be based in the metropolitan areas and, fire danger isn't as risky in those locations. For me, I just felt like, I wanted to be sort of responsible and also give myself a break because if we were working all year, it'd be nice just to have 2 or 3 months where you weren't operating, just to be able to reset, service, maintenance, clean, do all that stuff that you need to do to make sure that you're ready for the next season. So, my intention was never really to operate through December to March. So yeah, I'm aiming to get up and running again with some locations for, around the May period.
Do you have your next location already?
I don't, no. So Onkaparinga Council have been really great. They've said that I can go back to their jurisdiction, which is a really awesome spot. And I am working on another location at the moment, but the challenge that I've found with councils is that, and I'm sure I know that the other businesses that are running mobile saunas are having the same issues, is that mobile sauna is still a new concept in Australia and councils don't have, appetite for unknown concepts. So I've really had to go down a path of, I put a business case together. I've pointed toward examples all around the world and Australia to try and demonstrate that it's not, because I think they see there's risk with sauna in that sauna isn't for everyone. This is true. Sauna comes with risks in relation to, people's health and, it can be risky for some people. This is true. But also skydiving is, and shark cage diving is, and all these things that have a lot of risk involved are understood and known, and so councils are okay with it. So the sauna concept, I think it's coming along quite quickly. But what I've found with councils is that they don't know how to process my application. So I'm not a food truck. I'm not a summer activity. I'm not a, event. So they've really struggled to find the application process for me to apply through. Onkaparinga Council, who I've run 3 pop-ups with, they already had a process for pop-up business. So they already had an application, panel to assess my application, and they were completely comfortable with what I was doing. So yeah, I'm hoping now that I've had one council say yes, that the next council that I'm working with will also say yes.
Your idea to leave sauna at one location for the whole season. You're
Yeah.
not driving it back and forth.
No. So because of the size of my trailer, it just wasn't operationally viable to be moving it every day. So in my council applications, I sought to keep the trailer on site, which of course comes with its own risk, like anything in a public space. But I've been really, lucky and had great community support from the locations I've been at, where people have really reached out and looked out for me and the business. So I haven't had any trouble, which is great. But yeah, that's a risk that any business takes in being in a public place. It doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing. If you've got equipment and assets that are located on site, then yeah, you're going to run a risk. But, I was happy to take that risk because moving the trailer every day, particularly being wood fire, you would have to get it there so much earlier to get it set up. You would have to wait for it to cool down to move it. And I just didn't think that was going to work for us.
True. Yeah, with the same, we also leave sauna in one spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, original idea was to deliver it to like people's backyard to have like
Yeah.
parties. But then we bought too big trailer and built a little bit too big sauna
Exactly
to
what
move
I
around. And it's like, yeah, when we like finished building, we were like, yeah, we don't want to move it often.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've done, in that the experience that I wanted to give people was that I wanted, recognizing that we were going to be, at the beach in the winter, I wanted to have a space where people could put their belongings, that they could kind of get changed if they needed to. And I wanted the sauna to have enough space that, if you're doing communal sauna, for Australians, that is a little bit of it. Well, it is a bit of a new concept. Because I think that most saunas that you go to that are in spas and gyms and things like that, you're just there by yourself. But the communal concept of Finnish sauna means that you're going to be in there with strangers. And so I wanted there to be enough space where people felt comfortable, and then have the change elements. And then I've got a little like storage office space. So, but in doing that, it is a big trailer, and I've had lots of requests for, coming to gyms for wellness days and things like that. And I've just had to say, for the amount of effort that takes for me, I'm not really sure it's worth it. I am looking at doing some retreats, but I can manage a retreat because it's a weekend, it's 3 or 4 days. I'll drop it off. I'm either on site managing it and being their host, or I'm leaving it with them with the equipment, and that I'm comfortable with. But the 1-day events are, more difficult to manage.
Yeah, I understand completely. So like when you said you have a full-time job, like regular
Yes.
job.
Yeah.
And what do you do in the sauna season? Do you hire somebody?
Yeah, so this is where some of my challenges lie. So while I was on maternity leave, it was fine. I could do it myself. And then when I returned to work, I made it so that I didn't work on Fridays, so I could do weekends. And then this last little season that I did, I hired someone to help me, and she did every Sunday for me. So I guess the next step would be for me is, I'm sort of at this like point in my business, is that, am I going to go hard on the sauna, and in which case I need to evaluate how much, of my work I can do. Or do I just hire somebody to do all of it for me? But because it's my baby, I'm not sure if you feel the same, but because it's my baby and my story and my everything about it is my dream, I'm finding it very hard to hand over to staff member to manage. And I've got a few logistical things that I want to make sure that are really sound before I have people work for me. So yeah, eventually I'll, that is the next phase, I guess, of this business. But I think that would be better once I have some more permanent locations sorted.
Was it hard to find you like this person who was helping you on Sundays? Or was it somebody you knew already, or you just put some advertisement?
Yeah, so the person that helped me is actually somebody that I know. So that was, very helpful. She quit her job, was looking to do something different. And so I was able to ask her to help me out. But I've had quite a few people who are in that wellness space reach out to me and say that they're happy to, work for me as a staff. So I've got a few people that I've got, in contact with that once I do sort of move to that next phase that I could sort of get on board. And even if I'm doing one day and then I've got someone else doing one day, or, I'm doing two, they're doing one, and slowly move towards stepping away from being the front line. But yeah, I'm just so attached. Yeah, I'm so attached to the story that I want to deliver to people, because a lot of, so look, there's a cohort of people who understand sauna. There's a cohort of people who have been to Scandinavia, Finland, and are like, oh, yep, I've been there, I've done that, I understand that. And then there's a cohort of people that are like, what are you doing? And don't understand the concept and what I'm trying to achieve. So it's kind of, there's a scale of story that I tell. Some people it's a short story and they're like, oh yeah, we totally get it. But then other people, I need to sort of give them the start to the finish. And at the end of my story, they're like, oh, that's awesome. Good on you. So yeah, it does make me very attached to being on site and being the face of the business. But at some point I'm going to have to let that go. Like anyone with any business. Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah.
I'm also super scared. Well, first of all, we're not even making wages right now.
Yeah.
Like we just started like mid-November. We're not even like capable of paying anyone. But also every day something goes wrong. Every day something breaks down and stuff goes wrong. And I just don't understand who possibly we can hire. It should be some engineer person who can fix cold plunge, fix some pipes, screw something like.
Yeah. I have to tell you, I have a similar story in that the first permit that I had, everything was all good, but I have a bit of nervous energy around the wood fire and just managing that and making sure making sure that it's staying hot, that it's not burning too hot, that, there's a whole lot of elements that aren't hard to manage, but you need to know what you're doing. And so then the second permit I had, my battery went flat. And that was fine because I'm not running on a battery, but the battery was making this alarm noise, and I couldn't get it to stop. And all the battery does is light the sauna, the backlight up in the sauna, LED.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just was so frustrated with, I have this battery that's like massive running one light, and it went flat. And anyway, I ended up having to get some electrician guy that I knew that was local to come down to put a new battery in. And, it was a pain in the bum. And then this last time, everything was fine until the last weekend I was running it was really, really windy. Mm-hmm. And the girl that I had working for me was on site, and she rang me to say that the wind was causing smoke to come into the sauna. And I said, okay, we'll get everybody out and I'll cancel some sessions. And I think we could only put it down to, because the flue is so much shorter than what it would be in a house, and we were on the foreshore and it was gale force winds, it was just causing problems with the sauna stove. So yeah, and I'm constantly on edge thinking, what next? And so absolutely agree with you. That's why I wanted to get somebody on board for me as a staff member who was someone that I knew, so that I could, if anything went wrong, we could like work it out over the phone, and she wouldn't be, I would trust her, and I can trust her assessment of what was going on to make a decision on, do we cancel sessions? Do I move sessions? What are we doing? And yeah, there were still a few things that just didn't go right. So, and they're all weather based. So it was either wind. There was one day that it rained a lot, and then I did cancel a few days because it was like 37 degrees. So I'm like, I just don't think that operating a wood fire sauna on a 37-degree day is good for anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we're going to have 36 and I'm blocked the whole day.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I just think, so for me, if I'm on site being the staff member, that's probably not a great environment to work in. it's not a great environment to sauna in. And I just think having a wood fire on a 37-degree day, people are going to be a little bit sensitive to that just because, we're in South Australia and again, we're in the metropolitan area, but when people smell smoke and it's 37 degrees, they're going to think the worst.
Okay.
So yeah, not that the sauna produces that much smoke, but I just thought I'm not going to run a sauna on a 37-degree day.
Yeah. And it's kind of a tricky, hey, because I feel like, we have cold plunge. And
Yeah.
actually people like to book sauna when it's super hot because they want to go to cold plunge. But for me, it's almost impossible to cool the water down because you're running it from the generator.
Yeah.
The generator overheats.
Yeah.
And chiller overheats. And it's just,
Doesn't work.
I'm just like stressing out, like running like a chook. And terrible feeling.
I honestly, I can 100% say that I know the feeling that you have because I don't live near the beach either. I live in the Adelaide Hills. So to get to where my sauna was on each occasion, it's probably a 45-minute drive. And so there'd be something going on and I'd be ringing my husband who's 50 minutes away, 45 minutes away going, you need to come down here. And he's like, I can't come down there. Like you need to work it out yourself. So I just, continuously had this nervous energy about all these little elements that could go wrong. And yeah, but when each time my permit ended, I was like, oh, I made it. But every single time I do a permit, I learn a bit more. We make some modifications. We get ourselves ready for the next season. So I feel like as time goes on, it will definitely become much easier. And again, you'll start to know. I think the trickiest part, and I'm not sure, did you say you're running wood fire?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the trickiest parts is reading the stove and reading the fire, and just knowing when you need to put more wood on, or not. There's been plenty of times where I've opened the door and been like, "Oh crap, there's no wood left," and I've had to restart it secretly while people are in there, or just being able to get it up to heat before at the start of the day. So, despite the fact that I love the wood fire and I think that it creates such an authentic experience, it does have its challenges. Yeah.
I'm a little bit regretting that we decided to go with wood fire.
Yeah.
Because even people that come in, they kind of maybe a little bit enjoying and asking me this question, but I also feel like frustration because they're asking, what's the temperature today? How cold is the sauna and how cold is the cold plunge?
Yeah.
Because everything is so hard to keep consistent. They're trying to, to understand, today the sauna may be 110 even. So maybe we need a little bit, maybe 10 minutes instead of 15. And cold plunge, colder than it was last time. So maybe also adjust the time. So they need to...
Yeah. Well, that's, definitely. So once I sort of started to tell people, if I was there all day, the first couple of sessions, I would be, telling people, okay, these are the first sessions of the day. So we're just at temperature, it's sitting at around 65. It'll get hotter as you're in there. But yeah, this is definitely the coolest session of the day. But by the end of the day, while people were in the ocean, I would have to let air out because it would get to 100. And I think for people who are not familiar with sauna or do sauna often, 100 degrees is probably not that great. So just from an experience perspective, so I would let some air out and try and keep it around 80. So yeah, that all the challenges that come with wood fire and maintaining the heat are something that if I was going to hand it over to somebody, it would need to be someone who understood all of those little, tricks around keeping it, getting it to heat. Getting it to temp and keeping it at temp, and just making sure that everyone, giving everyone the explanation around why it's at this temperature, and if it's a little bit too hot, only spend short time in there, open the door if you need, and that kind of stuff. But the thing is that I see lots of wood fire saunas in the UK, and I think if they can bloody do it and they can run successful businesses doing this, then we can as well.
With a lot of more labor than one thing that
Yeah.
I feel like people feel like, oh, you're just running sauna, you just like leave the fire and you're just chilling out
Yeah.
under the umbrella.
Yeah.
No.
No. Yeah, it's
No.
constant. I found that when I was down on site, there would be a lot of people that wanted to come talk to me, and I would have to sort of cut them off and be like, listen, I'm really sorry. I'm managing these sessions and I need to, if I missed an opportunity to go in and check the fire while people were in the water, and then it was another 20 minutes before they got out again, often, I've missed my opportunity to put a bit of extra wood on. And so, yeah, you really have to monitor it the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The same with cold plunge. Cold plunge takes so much effort.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Even
Yeah.
though we have filters, you still need some, just to skim some leaves from the surface because people getting some leaves
Yeah.
or something else floating. You need to clean it up. You need to clean the filters pretty much each 5 people.
Yeah. Okay.
Mostly after sauna, we need to clean filters because the chiller like stops pumping properly because the soap built up. So like I need to do this and this, and check the temperature and
Yeah. It's and I think you're probably the same in that I want to deliver a level of experience that people come in and say, oh, that it was clean, it was, there was no, I after every session I'm getting in and I'm rubbing all the sweat marks away. I don't want there to be any sweat marks. I want it to look like nice and fresh for every single session. So it's a lot of hard work and energy to be, and because I'm at the beach, so there's sand everywhere. So I'm sweeping, I'm mopping, I'm wiping. I'm like, making sure that the standard and level that people are getting is what I would expect if I was there. And so I understand what you're saying. And like, you don't want someone to look at your cold plunge and think, oh, like it's some stuff in there. So it's just a constant thing. You can't just set it up and walk away.
Yeah, definitely not. What gaps do you have between sessions? How many minutes do you need to clean?
So the first couple of permits I did back-to-back sessions, and I learned very quickly that was a big mistake because so if I offered an hour session, even though in the description I said to people, this includes time for getting changed and getting out at the end, I would be telling people on the 60-minute mark, okay, get out. You need to get out. And then it would affect the next session. And so the last permit that I did, I only did 50-minute sessions, and I didn't do half an hour and I didn't do an hour, only 50 minutes, because I felt like 50 minutes is the appropriate amount of time that is needed to, have 3 saunas and 3 cold plunges in the ocean. And then it gave me 10 minutes between every session to get in and tidy up. And I was able to then tell people you need to get out at 50-minute mark, which, meant that it didn't affect the next session at all. And I also programmed in some half an hour breaks. So if I was going to be really, really booked up, I would then just cancel a session just to give myself a break, like in the middle of the day, just to really reset and tidy everything up. And but that was really only where I was operating. So 11 till 7 p.m. I would just make sure I had a break in the middle of the day, particularly if I was booked up. But what I found was the last couple of permits, I was doing sunrise and sunset, being at the beach. And sunrise is really popular and sunset is really popular. And then I'd have this gap in the middle of the day.
What did you do? You need to drive 45 minutes back home.
So no, well, I didn't go home. I just sat there and kept it going. So this time round, I just focused on the afternoon session because in South Australia, we have beautiful sunsets. And so I just did it from like 11 a.m. up until sunset, which was better for me. But I had so many people saying, oh, where's the sunrise sessions gone? But yeah, you can't be there all day. You kind of need to pick either morning or afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah, the same. I also was working for a few weeks, 14 hours, like from 7 to 7. Well, actually I was waking up at 4 because I need to drive there, plus 2 hours to hit the sauna, cold plunge, blah, blah, blah. First session at 7, last finishes at 7 as well. Yeah, the sun just want people coming. And they come in either in the morning or in the evening. and
Yeah.
one person at lunch.
Yeah.
So you have to keep the sauna hot all day and the
That's
cold
right.
plunge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was doing. The first in May last year, I did a season where I was sunrise to sunset, and I was waking up at 4 a.m. to get down, leave at 5 to get there at 6 to have it hot by 7. And even though it was great and I really enjoyed it, and it was so nice to be at the beach at that time in the morning because I don't live near the beach, so it was great for me. But yeah, it just meant that my days were incredibly long. Yeah.
Yeah. In May, probably it will be a little bit easier than in January or December, but still,
From
that's still hard.
Yeah, still
Yeah.
hard. Yeah. Well, the last one I did was in November, and the sun was setting at nearly 8:30 by the time I finished. So I was having to push it later and later, and I ended up having my last session at 7 o'clock. And then I just told them, you can hang around in here if you want, but I'm going to do some packing up. Um, but yeah, it was the amount that the sun set time changed in that 5 weeks that I was down there was 45 minutes type thing.
Yeah. Well, in Brisbane, sunset a little bit earlier, like about 6 p.m., maybe like
Yeah.
6:50 right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
You don't have
more.
daylight
Yeah.
savings, do you?
7 is definitely dark already because I try to run sessions at 6 p.m. and at 7 p.m. it's already was dark for me to pack because I don't have
Yeah.
anything in there. So I was like blind, like just taking chairs back, mosquitoes biting me, and I'm like, so I decided to finish at 6. Right now I'm finishing at 6. So last
Yeah.
session at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like a Finnish person. Tell me, what's the most traditional way of Finnish sauna? I know that it's ideally naked.
Yes.
Hats? Yes, no?
Well, I guess so. My experience with Finnish sauna is with my family, my mum's side of the family. And yes, we were naked, and that was probably some of the things when I got to my late teens that I realized, oh, I'm having a sauna naked with my grandparents, and people think that's weird. So yeah, we didn't really wear hats because we were just at home. And even when I've been back to Finland, there hasn't been hats involved. But I do see that I understand the concept and what they do. But yeah, I think one of the differences that I think people struggle to understand is because infrared sauna is such a big thing in Australia, people's understanding of how you sauna is that you sit in something for 60 minutes or 45. And so when I have people coming down, and I always say, have you done sauna before? And they say, oh, yeah, I've been to the sauna at the gym. I go, oh, have you done traditional sauna before? And they're like, oh, infrared. I said, oh, no, this is very different. Traditional sauna is a lot hotter. We're trying to keep it at 80, 85 degrees, but it does get to 100. Infrared sauna is nowhere near as hot. Hence, the experience that you're going to have here is so different. Don't spend any more than 15 minutes in here at a time, and then you have a break. And of course, you can go into the ocean. It's really trying to let people know that infrared is one thing and traditional sauna is sauna.
Yeah.
And do not sit in there for 60 minutes because that is not how this works. And I think most people, once they get in there, like they would always come out and be like, oh my God, it's so hot. I said, yeah, I told you. And so they're obviously loving the cool off, and everyone says they're not going to go for a swim because it's too cold. And then they get out and they go straight in the water. So yeah, it's the protocols around how you use traditional sauna compared to what people understand sauna to be in an infrared context. I think that's the main difference that I'm trying to get everyone to understand when they're coming down to my sauna.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, we also have a lot of clients who are only tried infrared. And it
Yeah,
seems like for a lot of people, it was a bit shocking that, you should be in sauna with somebody else.
yeah,
But infrared is
yes,
alone. And they're
yeah,
like, no way, especially like old ladies, they told me,
yeah,
when I'm going to be in the swim with somebody else. But
yeah,
if you go and try it a few times and they're like, no, actually it's fine. I feel so
yeah,
good. And they
yeah.
come in.
Yeah, and that's I think So in my booking system, I've got either you book it communally or you can book it privately. And I did have a lot of people book privately, but I had lots of people come, repeat customers come who are doing the communal. And it's funny because there'll be a full sauna of people and it's either silent and no one's talking, and that's fine, and everyone's quite comfortable.
Yeah.
Or I can hear everyone's chatting, everyone's talking. They're, it kind of brings like-minded people together. And I think that's a great thing about traditional sauna is that either people have experienced it, they've been to Scandinavia, they're curious, or they are sauna aficionados. However, a lot of the time they're infrared sauna aficionados, so the experience is much different. And I think people actually love traditional sauna. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is hard. And some people, they come into our place and say, well, I'm also here for cold plunge
Yeah. Okay.
for the summer. But they still go into sauna. They not skipping sauna. They still sauna 15 minutes and then cold plunge. And
Yeah.
some people would think, not only sauna, I don't care about cold plunge, I just need sauna.
Yeah. The idea of, if I say to people, you really only need to spend 15 minutes in there, don't listen to your body. Listen to your body and don't spend any longer in there that you don't feel comfortable with, because really the benefits are you're going to get the benefits either in the cold or the hot at the peak of what you can withstand. So, don't push yourself. And most people really are just there for the experience and the novelty and wanting to do a sauna at the beach, which is a new concept. So, everyone has given me really positive feedback, and I think traditional sauna will definitely become much more sought after versus this sort of infrared or whatever that a lot of people have been doing, because it's been easy to set up in gyms and have switched on. And but yeah, I think that the benefits that people can see that you get from traditional sauna are starting to feed through. And there's plenty of podcasts and things like that now that are saying, yeah, infrared's great and you're going to get benefits from it, but traditional's where it's at.
What's the correct way of placing wood in the sauna? I was watching a video on YouTube the other day, and what I'm trying to do mostly, I'm building some sort of teepee out of kindling, and then once it caught fire, I put bigger logs on top of it. But I saw the video from Finnish people. They say, no, you should put flat all these logs and then insert some maybe paper or small kindling and lead it from the top.
Light it from the top. Interesting. So I was doing it in a cross hatch method, I guess you would call it. So you would have 2 sticks that way, 2 sticks that way, and build sort of a little tower. And then I'd put some substantial wood on top, and I would light it from the bottom. And I never had any troubles with it lighting. I think that way it allows enough air to circulate and get into it. But, just playing around with the vent and having the vent open a little bit and not too much. And I always made sure that the ash was cleaned out every day, because it is such a small box. So even though there isn't that much ash, you still it needs to allow enough air to flow through for it to be a nice clean burn. And that was the aim of, that was my aim with the wood fire, was making sure that it was burning efficiently and clean and hot. So yeah, making sure that it was cleaned every day, really cleaning the glass, and getting that fire started with the cross hatch method was the way that I was going.
Yeah. Okay. I saw in the photos that you have sauna on the opposite side, like from the entry, right? So you enter the door in sauna. Isn't it because the airflow is better that way, or how did you choose where to place sauna? No, sorry.
To be honest, I think there was not really much consideration in that. So I've got vents which are near the sauna and above the seating to flow through, and then there's a little gap under the door. I sort of put and the configuration really was to try and make sure that there was enough seating facing and looking out the window. So in that sense, the sauna stove was put where it was because we wanted the box seating all along the back wall facing out toward the window. Whereas if I had it near the door, it would have meant that the seating would have had to like be an L shape, and some people would be looking away from the window. So it was more about functionality than it was anything else. But the ventilation is fine. Um, it gets really hot. It's nice and clean air in there. The only problem we had was that day when we had gale force winds, which we're looking at some. My partner is looking at. There's like a little attachment that you can get for your flue, which is for high wind areas. So we'll attach that and just make sure.
Yeah, like this, like covering.
Well, it's sort of like on one side, and the wind, it does move a little bit with the wind. I think it's called like a nun's cap or something. But essentially, if you have your flue like this, it sort of just sits on one side and protects wind coming into it. And once he sort of found that for me, when you look at houses in windy areas, like down at the beach, you'll notice that they have like a little protector on their flue. So yeah, we're hoping to do that, in the next couple of weeks so that it's ready because we do get, it does get windy on the beach. That I need to prepare for all the elements. So just one of those little lessons that we learned that, I need to, I've sort of worked out my rain issues. Now I've got to work out the wind issues. I can't deal with the heat issues. So slowly working through all the weather elements to try and make it a, good experience.
Yeah. Yeah, we had to buy a gazebo, like proper storm-proof gazebo because had a lot of rains this summer. I had like all these beautiful umbrellas that cannot withstand. We had kind of ugly gazebo, but it protects well. And at least people can put their stuff and people can see it. Sometimes if I have big thermoses with tea, I'm just giving people tea. So like all sitting, like in the circle. It looks ugly, but it protects.
Yeah. Well, I think, I haven't gone down the gazebo path yet, but so it depends where. So I've got a location that I'm working on where there'll be some close by undercover elements, but it's still the trouble that I have is that if I'm there on site, my little office space that is in the sauna, it only protects me if I have the door shut. So then I've got the door shut and I'm sitting there in my little box and I need to be outside. And again, I look at the examples in the UK, so like Scotland and England, and they're just in the elements. They've got their wet weather gear on and they're just dealing with it. So I think I just have to embrace it a little bit. And I might look to get some kind of awning or something on the side of my trailer, but it wouldn't be anything that creates much protection. It sort of would just, if the rain was falling down, it'd be okay. If the rain's coming sideways, I've got a problem.
Yeah, true. Do you have anything that you regretted spending money on? Like anything inside the sauna or, I don't know, advertisement, paying influencers, anything that you've done for this business and you feel like, nah, I shouldn't have spent this money?
Haven't really done a whole heap of advertising yet. I did spend in the beginning, like I paid for some social media stuff and it was like online. It's just like a South Australian big following social media platform. And I didn't feel like it really produced much bang for buck in that, I spent whatever it was and didn't really see much business from it. So I've sort of found that just doing my own Instagram, and social media stuff has been the best. And I actually put a few things on TikTok and that seemed to go crazy and they were just really rubbish videos. But I think TikTok likes that real raw, unedited type video, whereas I'm a millennial, so I love Instagram and I love curated, nice imagery and that kind of thing. Yeah. But I think really like the trailer, like you've said, I maybe could have gone a little bit smaller and it been a little bit more nimble, so it could, be service more markets and business models. But I still do think that it provides a experience which I was trying to achieve, and that's what the size is about. Um, Other than that, yeah, we just bought little things along the way, but nothing that I really regret. It's all, I think in the beginning, one of the things that I found challenging was, so I engaged an architect because I wanted the architect to design me something that was, you know, architecturally designed. Like I wanted it to look schmick, but also be traditional on the inside. And despite the fact that he did do that, the reality is there is not much you can really do with a box, a shed on a box. And essentially what I asked him to do, he created me. And there were some elements that weren't going to be fit for purpose in it being a trailer. So he designed something that looked great, but the reality was that wasn't going to work in a mobile format. And so I ended up spending some money initially going down this architect path, which I didn't need to, particularly because in the end I got Mark to build it, and Mark, it's his expert subject. He designed it. He had all the materiality and everything. Like he knew what he was doing. And so, yeah, the architect was something that I spent money on, and in the end, I didn't gain anything out of it. I don't think. Yeah, and architects are expensive.
Can't imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it's and you have cedar inside sauna or some other wood.
Western red cedar.
Western cedar, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me that would be maybe this because it's so bloody expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like every time thinking, well, if you would choose something else, but not my choice to be honest in Australia, because thermal aspen, I think it's another choice for saunas.
Yeah. Okay.
But it wasn't much in Queensland available.
Yeah.
I feel like in Victoria, it's so many more options to like accessories and everything for saunas.
Yeah.
In Queensland, it's like yeah, nothing. Maybe it's a good place to start something.
Yeah, maybe there's a market.
Yeah. Because even like to have this like double glazed window, I only found one company who can do it, like in the whole area, and it was like unheard of for everybody else.
Yeah.
So
yeah, double glazed. You know, in South Australia and probably Victoria, even though so we obviously have a lot more colder weather, so being insulated is more important in housing and that type of stuff. And in Brisbane, things are a little bit different from a climate perspective. But yeah, I sort of put all of that in Mark's hands, and he obviously had all of the connections and understanding of what was required, which, like I said, when I engaged the general builder, we really struggled because it sounds like you did a lot of research into like how things should be built. He was asking me, so what kind of insulation do you want to use? I'm like, I don't know. Shouldn't you present the options? And I say, you know, based on price and blah, 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 I choose this one. But yeah, he just, and it wasn't anyone's fault, but he was building houses. He wasn't building saunas on trailers. So yeah, Mark really took the lead and all that, and was really great with providing the advice on what to do.
That's actually so interesting that you mentioned that because we built our sauna ourselves, and I was responsible for all like planning situation. And I got used, like I'm from Russia, so I got used to that when you're calling some company in Russia, these people who answer the phone, they're so professional. They'll tell you everything that you need. They give you advices. They just help you out. I'm calling in Australia, and they're expecting that some trader gonna call them.
Yeah.
They need that terminology, exact sizes, exact things that they need. And now I'm calling and I'm trying to, I don't know, I'm not sure what I need yet. Maybe I know that we'll probably need some corrugated iron for roof, but I'm not sure like what exactly type of stuff.
I know similar experience in so my partner, my husband, he works away. And so there were so many times where the either Mark or the engineer that built the trailer would be asking me questions around things. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that. And because I really struggled to conceptualize the trailer, the size. And so I was really saying to Tom, my husband, do you think this is a good idea? Do you think this is the right size? And he's like, well, yeah, that's what you want. I think that's going to be fine. And so there was a bit of a struggle between in the relationship and the understanding between me, who I'm trying to drive this as my, little passion project. I want it to look a certain way, function a certain way, and all that type of thing. But now I'm really being the middle person between my husband, who I'm like, is this the right thing I should be doing? And then the tradesperson who's asking me all the questions. And so I ended up being a bit of a middleman. And I thought, in many cases, I'd be like, can you and you just talk? Yeah. Because I don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, I think it is, building anything. If you were going to build a house and you were that person and you were getting asked all these technical questions, would be the same. But because you're so passionate about it, I'm so passionate about it, I wanted to be involved, and I didn't want to let anything slip away from me where there was an opportunity to make sure it was, the product that I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's hard. It's good that it's in the past already.
Yeah.
With our first saunas.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes later. Do you have any stories, events, something else to share that was funny or particularly interesting, or just anything you want to tell me what I didn't ask?
Really, I've had some really, every time I've done a permit, I've been so energized at the end by the people who I've met, everybody giving me such great feedback. I think, like I was saying before, traditional sauna is not well understood by everyone, but once they experience it, everybody was so amazed at, the experience that I had created. And I had quite a few Finnish people come through and Russians, and the Russians and the Finns, because they don't give you much from they don't say anything. Yeah. And you're sort of thinking, oh no. And then they come out after the session, they go, that was amazing. And you go, oh, thank you. And they tell all their friends and they come down. And so, yeah, once I had some of the Finns come through and they really loved it, I was like, check, thank God. I've created something which was authentic and, really traditional, and the Finns loved it. So I'm happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, every time I do a pop-up, I am so blessed and happy and with the whole experience and everyone that I meet. So yeah, I think in any business, you're kind of waiting for something to go wrong. And like you said before, there are all these little logistical things that go wrong, but no one seems to notice them. Only you and I do. We're on site freaking out about leaves in the water or whatever, but the person who's having that experience isn't noticing that stuff. So yeah, but I do think that that's the reason that it is such a good product and service, is because we've got such high expectations of what we want to deliver. But otherwise, yeah, I've had really great locations. The council that I've worked with has been really good. My next challenge is to get the next council on board, because ideally I would love to have, 2 locations sorted for the winter and be 3 months here, 3 months here, and everyone knows where I am. And I would also like to explore some other options that aren't ocean, beachside. So something a little bit closer to home, maybe on a estate or a farm or something. But yeah, my challenge is that I have a baby, I have a FIFO husband, I have a full-time job, and this unfortunately becomes my lowest priority when life gets in the way. So yeah, but I am really happy with everything that I've created, and it's so nice to see so many other saunas popping up and the community that it's creating. And I really want to get to one of those sauna fests, maybe in New Zealand, or
in May.
And I own one in Australia. That would be awesome. And I've got a few retreats that I've booked in for this year, so that will be a new thing for me to do. So yeah, and maybe in the future, maybe you're thinking the same. I'd like to build another sauna which is smaller, electric, so I can sort of do both have both business models operating where you've got something at the beach that operates for a couple of months of the year, and then you've got another one where you're able to deliver it on weekends and do one-day events and that type of thing.
Yeah. We even think can make it so, well, not like building yet, just like dreams, maybe make it so compact and mobile that people can tow it themselves.
Yeah.
If
Well, I
it's so
think it's a
optional.
guy in Tassie there's someone, and I think a lot of them are done in like small horse float type setups where it's really only for maybe 4 people and you can tow it around. But yeah, I agree. There are lots of opportunities in this space, and it's really hard to not get too caught up in wanting to try and do everything. You sort of got to focus on one thing at a time and work up to the next thing. So yeah, and I think now that there's so many other people doing it, it's really hard not to look over there and go, oh, I really like what they're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I could do that. But yeah, like I said to, my husband keeps saying, you wanted to do this beachside thing. You just need to work on that, keep working on it and perfect it and get it, everything about it how I want it to, and then look to other things. But yeah, I think it's really hard because I just want to be like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to be that person and have an empire of saunas.
Sauna empire. Yeah. By the way, in Finnish, sauna is the right way to say that. It's sauna.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Sauna. And loili or loilu?
Lonely. Yeah. My Finnish family see me in this, they'll be like, no, it's sauna. I feel stupid saying sauna.
Same.
Because it's not how it's said here, and because I don't have a accent or anything, it sort of feels really out of place when I say sauna.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in Russian this sounds the same, sauna. But I taught myself to say sauna. But the problem when even if I'm using like voice typing, the phone doesn't understand I'm saying sauna. It thinks that I'm saying SONA, and I need to like correct it every time. And I was like, maybe I should start saying sauna. And
yeah,
I don't know, teach everyone how to say sauna correctly. Yeah, I think the last question I have, what saunas you're following?
Well, I'm following so many. I guess every single day my Instagram shows me new saunas to follow, and I always think, oh, is this one going to be in South Australia? And I only just last week found another guy that's doing sauna in Australia, a beachside sauna. So I'm hoping to get down there and check out he's got a little one built in a horse float, so similar to some of the other guys in Victoria. But I think some of the first that I was following, so obviously there's the floating sauna in Tassie, which was the first one that I went to here that I thought, wow, I would love to try and create something like this. But then slowly but surely, there's Lolu in Western Australia, and Callum, he's really awesome. Some of the electric saunas that are popping up in Victoria, talking to some of the guys that are all the way up in Townsville. Cedar and Stone was one of the first guys, Rob, that I was speaking to early on. And I think her name's Selena. She's got a little sauna down in Tassie. There were quite a few people that I reached out to begin with because I think like every sauna business, we go through the same challenges, and it's mainly build,
council,
insurance, council. Yeah, those 3 things are the biggest challenges. And I really got worried that I'd done things the wrong way because I built my sauna and then I couldn't get insurance. And I thought, oh my God, I've really stuffed this up. But I eventually got the insurance. And I think the insurance side of things is a lot better now. But yeah, every week there's a new sauna that I pop up. And I also am following so many in New Zealand, in the US, and obviously in Europe as well. So yeah, I think America and Europe are where a lot of the examples that I first saw are, that I sort of gathered all my ideas and information before implementing, the design that I wanted here. But yeah, it's great to see so many people doing it. And even if there is, even now that there is another guy in South Australia doing it, I think it will only be beneficial for both of us because it helps get council understanding and a little bit more attention and media, and and everyone's been really lovely. No one's, you know, trying to beat each other. Everyone's very supportive, and it's really great.
And also, the more people know, the more it's going to be like their activity by its own. People might say, oh, okay, this weekend we're going to this sauna, and the next weekend we're going to sauna, and it's going to be,
Yeah. I had some German girls come through. They've come through a few times, and they were saying how, like, in Germany, there's sauna everywhere, and you just hire it with your friends, and you go there and you take your lunch and you spend the day, you know, with your friends there, and you might have some drinks at the end of the day or whatever. And they were an absolute hoot. That was so fun. And I thought that would be really great if you sort of had a, you know, space where people could come and spend the day sort of thing. Like it ends up being sort of maybe like a bit of a day spa or whatever. But I want it to be different, like fun and not so relaxing wellness, because relaxing and wellness is one thing. But if you had a space where, it was place to meet, and it was very, I don't know, it was more about fun than it was relaxing. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, especially with cold ocean, that people cheering each other up.
Yeah. And so many people are cold water swimming now. Like, I think that is another thing, particularly in South Australia and Victoria. You would not see one person down at the beach in the winter, whereas now there are cold water swimming groups all along the coastline. There's one in Adelaide in the western suburbs that gets 400, 700 people there a week. So, it's really a big movement. And so I think the sauna thing really fits well with the cold water swimming.
That would be a dream to go on the coast. We took our sauna once on the beach, but like right on the sand. And we got stuck like 4 times in 2 days. But it was an island where people like always stuck. So it's like a lot of people come in there just for rescuing other people.
Yeah, okay.
And we all have this like ropes and like radios to talk.
Yeah.
But like 4 times people were like helping us out to get out of the scene.
Yeah, we have so down south there's a beach that you can drive on, and you can everyone drives on there. You're allowed to drive on there. It's fine. And in the summertime it's really busy. And so when I was talking to the council, I was like, would it be okay if I was on the beach? And we all sort of decided probably not, because if I got stuck there, I don't know, like if you really truly got stuck, you would have to get a truck to get you out type thing. So, or a tractor
and
or
also
something.
the tide can go up and it.
But not the sand is quite hard down there, so it could be a possibility. And there's examples in the UK and Scotland where they're on the beach, and I think, well, if they can do it, we can do it.
I like this approach.
Yeah. Any problem I have, I think someone's already experienced this, and I just need to work through it, and it's going to be fine. It's nothing out of the ordinary. Yeah.
It is new concept for Australia, but not new concept for Europe and England. Yeah. America as well. Okay, Kate. Thank you so much for joining me.
That's okay. Thanks for having me. Oh, great. All right. I look forward to seeing it.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
See you. Bye.